Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
Hey, are you courageously expressing yourself? I mean, I'm talking about, are you showing up as your authentic self? Even when other people don't really get it, right? They think you're weird. They think you're outrageous. Even when you're bucking the trends of society. Well, some of us have learned how to shine our lights brightly to help others discover and share their own light. Well, I met someone very recently who's done just that. You are going to love Krista Kujat. She goes by Rhiah, right? Did I say it right? Rhiah. Yes. Yay,
Yes.
Rhiah. And you're just going to love her. I want to tell you a little bit about Rhiah because she is so good at this whole self-expression thing and sharing a deep love of life. Rhiah is an award-winning essayist, poet, memoirist, and educator. Her work celebrates connection, authenticity, and the beauty of living boldly. A winner of the Soul Making Keats Literary Award and the Independent Spirit Award for film, Rhiah has created transformative programs like the Passion Guide, the Sacred Sexy Course, and Principles of Love. Her work empowers individuals to break free from inherited patterns, embrace sensuality, and foster meaningful relationships. Through inquiry, intuitive practices, and body-oriented wisdom, Rhiah inspires lasting change and relational healing. Rhiah, I'm so happy you're here today.
Thank you. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me into your world and for that glorious introduction that's just so packed full of many things.
It was really funny. I had to finally start record because we were having way too much fun laughing together before we got started. And I was just like, man, we're going to be here for an hour before we even start this interview. But before we really jump in, I want to make sure that we connect our energy because this is such an important topic of living life at your full potential. Most people don't realize just how powerful they really are and what an incredible difference they make. And I love that that's really your area of expertise. So trust me, I'm going to be gleaning as much as I possibly can from you. And that means it's really important that we connect our energy. So we're going to do two things that help us connect your energy with mine, with the entire audience, and with the God of our understanding. First, we're going to breathe together 3 times, 3 long, slow, deep breaths. And as we breathe in through the nose, we think the words, I am. And as we breathe out through the mouth, we think the word consciousness. And I'll remind you when we get to that point. Then we're going to hold an intention together. I will read the intention and we hold it in silence for 78 seconds. I don't think anybody else ever does this, but it's incredibly powerful. Mm-hmm. Your intention is kind of like typing into a spiritual GPS. This is where I want to go, and here's how I want to feel about it. And it's not like we have a script, but by setting our intention, that helps us focus our attention on everything that aligns with that intention, and we receive everything we've asked for in our intention. Now, it can be a little challenging to hold silence for 78 seconds. I am a talker, in case you didn't notice. And so I've discovered 2 things that really help me. I pick 2 or 3 words out of the intention that just feel expansive and uplifting. They're the high vibration I really want to embody. And I'll say those 2 or 3 words to myself over and over again for the entire 78 seconds. And then I start to notice what's happening in my body. Sometimes I'll get goosebumps or a wave of heat, or I'll feel my whole body expand and open. Any kind of movement in the body is just the signal for me that the divine has locked into that higher vibration and the journey is about to begin. So we're all in sync. Cool. Are we ready to play?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Let's take 3 long, slow, deep breaths together. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. In love and light, we hold the intention that we lovingly and boldly express our true selves, shining our light brightly to illuminate the world so we enjoy a vibrant life and prosperity beyond measure. Thank you, Divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow, that felt fabulous. What was
Elaine,
that experience like for you?
I'm feeling explosive joy in my heart. And then I had flashes of listening to you on your other podcasts and just how you fill the space with such an infectious joy and an unbridled laughter that just delights me to no end. So thank you for bringing that to the table. And I'm connecting with the joy in me as I connect with the joy in you. So that's what it felt like for me. Thank you.
Beautiful. Love that. And you know, joy and laughter, they are infectious. You know, they say that the sweetest sound in the world is the sound of your loved ones belly laughing so hard that tears are streaming down their faces like they can't even catch their breath. They're laughing that hard.
Yes.
Catch that. Catch it on video. Keep the audio. And when you're having a rough day, listen to people you love laughing their butts off. And you can't help but smile and you start laughing along with them because laughter is truly divine. It really is. I mean, I love stupid dad jokes, silly dad jokes, because they always make me laugh. And I'm sorry, I have to abuse you. I have one of my favorite jokes. Where do bad rainbows go?
I have no idea.
Bad rainbows go to prism. It's a light sentence, but it gives them time to reflect. Oh, 3 in a row. I know it's ridiculous. It's silly. It's outrageous. It's funny. And it gets you laughing, right? And you have to work your mind in a different way than it normally does. You're like, what?
On that note of laughter, what I love about laughter, and which falls into my area of always being connected to bliss, is laughter exercises the same muscles in our bodies as orgasm.
Ooh.
So just add that to the data points of, yeah, let's laugh more.
There's a lot of oxytocin going on there, right?
What's that?
A lot of oxytocin is going on there, right?
Yes, and undoing of all the tensions and all the ways we hold ourselves together in order to reach a state of ecstasy, mind, body, and soul. So,
Wow.
yes. Sure.
Well, I have so many questions, but I want to start with what got you started on this, and why are you so passionate about helping people express their true selves?
Hmm. Oh, my through line in my whole life, if I can track it back to I would say my early 20s, has been an unbridled conviction and commitment to freedom in my life. And, I think that our childhoods to some degree inform our deepest desires. So I had an interesting upbringing in the sense that my dad was he was an immigrant from Germany, and he was very much someone who thought outside the box. So while that was extremely encouraged through his example, because he had a grade 8 education and he went on to be an extremely successful entrepreneur, and I got to bear witness to that as normal. And at the same time, there was like this way, his way of doing things involved in a very high level of perfection. And so the philosophies of things like you do something right the first time around, do it the proper way, or don't do it at all. So that those notions became attached to love and belonging for me in my personal story. And so my life, and when I track it back over the decades, I'm 52 years old now, and I've had many expressions of myself, both in career as well as artistically. And when I track it back, it's all following this through line of freedom. And I will go further to that and say that it's freedom and love together that I feel is the greatest expression that really any of us can embody, while feeling those two qualities at the same time.
I love that.
And that's just, I didn't plan it that way, but everything that I chose in life has ultimately been true to that one through line of freedom.
Yeah. So when you truly love yourself, then you are free to express yourself.
Absolutely. And it is all stemming from intimacy with self and knowing ourselves. And the more deeply we know ourselves, the more we can honor ourselves. The more we honor ourselves, the more we can have the power to freely express ourselves, because we know who we are and we know what we're standing behind. And that right there is power. For me, that's power. Having clarity and freedom to make a choice in how we move through the world, how we express ourselves, how we connect with others. That is power.
You know, it's so interesting that you're talking about this today, because it has taken me forever to get to this point where I could accept who I am and how I am in the world. I use silly voices. I'm outrageous. I'm a big personality. I'm all about love and abundance and celebrating life. And not everybody wants to do that. Some people are really happy being unhappy, and they're kind of ticked off when you aren't. And so I always used to kind of beat myself up and think, oh, yeah, I have to be much more straight laced and very businesslike and together and organized and all this stuff. And it turns out I connect with people better when I'm my real self.
Yes. Yes. Always. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Go figure.
Go figure. It was there all along, just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. So interesting. Well, I asked the same question of every single guest. I've never heard the same definition twice. And I love that, because there's so many different kinds of abundance out there. Given your life experience, given the kind of work you do with your clients, given the way you love to self-express, how do you define abundance?
First, I want to thank you for this question. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, well, as you already know, I wrote a book that's full of definitions called Life's Poetic Glossary, that is full of the nuanced meanings.
I love this book.
Everyday words. And the reason why I was inspired to write this book, which leads to your question, is because I feel the deeper nuances of words that we use, and especially in the personal growth world, overused and the meaning becomes diluted. So I really appreciate the invitation to offer definition. And then also further to that, relationally, what I love about definitions, it is that it allows us to share a common ground with deeper meaning. So thank you for that. I really want to acknowledge you and honor you for starting the playing field with definition. So for me, abundance is a state of receptivity, trust, ease, and vitality while reveling in fulfillment, while being richly rewarded.
Woo! I love that. I'm writing it all down. Well, being richly rewarded. Yeah. Because why? Because you are being the fullness of who you are.
Yes.
And that feels so incredibly fulfilling and nourishing.
Yes. And the rewards come in many shapes and forms outside of money, right?
Yeah.
That can lead to money. And then also, for me, fulfillment is abundance. Like when we're connected with that sense of fulfillment, and I know you and I, from having listened to your podcast, I know that we share this understanding of gratitude. My definition for it is it's the currency of prosperity. And I've heard you speak about abundance in those terms. So that as one doorway into fulfillment and connecting with what it is to know fulfillment in our bodies and in our hearts and in our minds. And that beingness is abundance. Like we don't need more than what the world shows us we think we should need, in order to be fulfilled. It's very simple. And yet,
you said something so profound there. So profound. Beingness is abundance.
Beingness is abundance. Yes.
Wow. Yes. Love that. I love that. That's like, wow, amazing. Well, obviously not all of us are quite in that space yet. And I'm sure you've witnessed a lot of people that are kind of blocked. They're not comfortable releasing the truth of who they are. What do you find holds people back? What's the resistance? Where are they stuck?
I think, it's the antithesis of this definition. So receptivity, if you look at the antithesis of that, it's control. And so many of us think that we know what it is that we need to do in order to be ourselves, be fully expressed, come up with a marketing plan, put up a dating profile, that represents who we think we should be, just as examples, right? And so there's like this notion of thinking we need to reach for something in order to express ourselves in a certain way that will represent us in a certain way, or, even control what success looks like for us, even if it's our own definition for success, and thinking that we know all the steps to get there. And it's also, part of that being in control is using what we know from the past.
Yeah.
For me, receptivity is the key, where we open to being vulnerable to not knowing what our fulfillment and abundance is going to look like. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do, because control is security. Control is what we've learned. Control is what's worked before. Control is what we know. But receptivity is being open to know what we don't know yet.
Do you want to create real change in your life? Well, it all starts with alignments and actions. Each week, I'll send you powerful tools for spiritual alignment. These are practical tips that help you reconnect with the divine and raise your vibration. Plus, you'll get conscious actions. These are spiritually empowered steps that help you take effective, aligned action towards your dreams. Just go to www.theabundancejourney.com/A&A and start turning inspiration into transformation. Are you struggling to create the abundance that you want? Well, you don't have to work harder. You just need to understand how abundance works. I've got a free abundance journey training that reveals 5 simple steps that shift you out of scarcity and into flow, freedom, and fulfillment. You'll learn how to rewire your mindset, embody abundance instantly, and co-create with the divine. So life starts working for you and not against you. You can watch for free right now. Just go to www.theabundancejourney.com/basics. Yeah, just basics, and start living in flow. So I have to share a story with you because I so relate to words, and especially the energy around words. And as you know, I had a stroke on New Year's Day 2005, and I was incredibly blessed because during that stroke, I got to have a conversation with our higher power, and I got a complete download about how everything works, why we're alive, how we can live our best life, and what happens next after this life. Don't worry about it. It's a graduation. It's not an ending. And it was really interesting because during that experience, I've never had such amazing, all-encompassing, unconditional love in my life. I mean, every molecule in your body feeling so saturated with love, appreciation, joy, and gratitude for your existence. I mean, I've been blessed. I have some great relationships, no complaints. But this was different. This was cut above. So I came out of the stroke with absolutely no damage. I'm like, dang, I want that Niagara Falls of unconditional love, all the time would be great. Hold the stroke. And I did all this research. I'm like, so how do I open myself up so I have that experience again? And everything said, you just have to allow. You have to allow yourself to receive. You have to allow your heart to open. You have to allow the messages to come through. Well, I got to tell you, I was allowing my little heart out. And every once in a while, I'd get a download. It always felt great, but it was a lot closer to a leaky watering can than Niagara Falls. And I was getting a little ticked, honestly. So I'd done my meditation. I sit down for guidance and I'm writing in my journal and I am ticked off. And so I'm writing to the divine, why isn't this allowing thing working for me? And I was a little testy, sorry. And I immediately get this message. What is the image that comes to mind when you think of the word allow? And it was really interesting. No two people have the same relationship with words. I love your definitions in your book. This is a fabulous book and everybody needs to get it. But it was really interesting. I immediately saw myself behind a door with a chain on the door, and I'm peeking out the door at the divine, and I'm freaking terrified because I know I can't control it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to come. I have no idea how this is all going to work out. And I suddenly realized, oh, for me, the word allow is a mind-based word. My mind wants systems and processes and before and after and cause and effect and a guarantee would be really nice. My mind is all about controlling the situation. I thought, well, that's not going to work with the divine. I mean, come on. They know a lot more than I do. And I'd kind of like to have a different sort of relationship. And I thought, I need a heart-based word, something that is really the kind of relationship that I desire to have with the divine. It took me a while. I had to think about it. But I finally realized my word is welcome. Now I welcome the divine. I welcome incredible conversations like this one. I welcome resistance even, because that is like the divine jumping up and down with neon signs going, honey, here's your next growth opportunity. Congratulations. Yay, you found it. Bullseye. So, when you can welcome things into your life, there's such an energetic shift.
Yes. Yes. You're speaking to something so powerful that I also share in terms of perspective. And you illustrated it like mind-blowingly through your story, is that it's really the energy of the words. And so becoming of discerning of when we're in the mind relationship and including projections over our words and the energy we hold with how we are communicating those words is everything. And what I love about what you've described is that when you shifted the perspective of your relationship with the word allow to welcome so that it can penetrate your heart, then it allows for the essence of the word to truly live its meaning. But if we go with a mind definition, which most of the definitions in the dictionary, in my opinion, are mind definitions. They give us some string of very basic, rudimentary, and outdated definition of a certain meaning. But when we connect with the heartfelt, sensorial experience of the deeper meaning of a word, it's profoundly mind opening, body opening, and it allows us to be human effortlessly. I mean, ideally, right?
It's like the difference between something that you understand intellectually versus a somatic experience where you've got muscle memory, where it's so ingrained and entrenched in your body. You sense it, you feel it, you know it implicitly. There's no verbal explanation required. It is an inner knowing that is like a magnet pulling you exactly where you choose to be. So, yeah. Now, you've obviously experienced some incredible transformations. And I've noticed that whenever I want my external world to shift, something has to change inside me. I need a new perspective. What have you noticed people need to be willing to shift or let go of before they truly express their own power and love who they are?
Yes. Oh, such a great question. Thank you for that. The first thing that comes to mind, on this through line of control and receptivity is identity. It's really having the courage to let go of an identity that we've attached value to in some way. And part of that identity includes all the ways we've been going about our lives, doing things for security, success, pleasure, comfort, etc. And I mean, I could probably share several examples from my life, but the one that's top of mind is directly related to abundance in the internal sense of the word, as well as the external manifestation of the word that a lot of people think of as material wealth or feeling, richly fulfilled, let's say. During COVID, I was running a retreat house. It was for wellness retreats, corporate retreats, and it was a facility that could accommodate smaller groups, so between like 14 to 18 people at the most. And I happened to fall in a very specific area of all of the new legislations that were rolling out to support small businesses. I didn't qualify for any of them. Meanwhile, in order to run my business, there were so many loopholes to go through that I basically couldn't rent my place for several months. So I was without an income. I still had all the expenses that I would normally have. And then there were all kinds of problems that I needed to manage once I was able to rent, such as people lying about what their gathering was. At one point I was only allowed to rent to medical workers who were in service of like service providers who were in service of remedying the pandemic. And so people would lie, and they held huge parties at my house because there was nowhere for people to go to connect and have that communion with each other. So like there were all of these ripple effects that were wildly uncontrollable. And I knew that I could manage everything that was presented to me. I knew that I could do all the things that was asked of me from all three levels of legislation, and I could grind myself to the bone, and I could overcome. And there was something in me that cracked, and I said, I cannot do it anymore. I've been operating my whole lifetime this way in terms of managing my businesses in order to have the freedom of abundance with the minimum management as possible. And I was a slave to my freedom. And so I had a meltdown on the floor. I was crying, and I I don't know if you've had this moment. I'm sure probably many of your listeners could relate to this, where there's something deep inside of you that just knows you can't go on doing things the same way that you've been doing them. And you don't know what's on the other side of it, but you just know you can't keep doing it that same way. And that was one of those moments for me. And I just had my version of prayer. I don't have a religious background, but I have a very personal relationship with what that means to me, which is basically having humility. That humility of saying, I don't know the answers, and the humility of being at the mercy of a miracle. It's one of my lines in my book to define humility. And it's that admission of not knowing and just being so vulnerable and so, at the time it almost feels desperate, but it's that desperation that was needed for me to crack open so that I could be receptive to something new, something different, something I couldn't even imagine. So sure enough, I get the answer. I think it was maybe a month later, 2 months later, I had this vision of myself so incredibly blissfully free. And it was a felt sense that I had in my body and that I could connect with in a vision that made no sense. It was just an image. And every time I thought of it, it made me cry, and in an opening kind of way, where I knew like something was working inside of me. And then I knew it was just time to sell the business, which made no sense because before COVID, I had tripled my income. It was running smoothly. I knew that I was capable of doing everything to make it work. But because I was receptive, because I was open, because I was willing to not know and to let go of control, I ended up selling my business, making a profit, living around the world for 2 years, solely guided by intuition, and like living in a glass house in Guatemala while I wrote my memoir. Like, it was bliss beyond what I could imagine. It was fulfillment and abundance beyond what I could imagine. And I was making less money, but I was living a dream that I had wanted to live for so long, and being accountable to no one but myself, and living my full expression and following my bliss. So full circle to the definition of abundance, like what I think so many of us think of as like material abundance and fulfillment, and how those can get so easily contorted and construed with what abundance actually is. I was living such an abundant life, and I was making, maybe less than a third of what I was making before. But my life was like so richly rewarding in ways I could never have imagined.
Oh, I love that. I don't love that you had that excruciating experience by any means. And I love the insights that came from that experience. It's really interesting. All of us go through this process, and I view it almost as like climbing stairs. Here you are climbing stairs, and finally you see a landing. And you finally make it up to that landing, and you're huffing and puffing, and oh my gosh, you got here. You're bent over and hands on your knees, trying to catch your breath. And then after a while, you're able to stand up and wander around on this landing, and it starts to become much more familiar, and it starts to just become part of your everyday life. And you can hang on this landing, and it's no big deal. In fact, you're telling other people how to get up to this landing. But after a while, the landing gets kind of dull. Been there, done that. Seriously, is this all there is? And then finally you notice more stairs, and you get to start that process again. You get to climb more stairs again to reach another landing. And one of the messages that I received is, darling, feel it first. Mm-hmm. Feel it first. Mm-hmm. So you think about, what do I choose to create, and how do I choose to feel about it? That's kind of how I define intention. It's, what does my heart, how do I choose to self-express? Mm-hmm. And as I decide, okay, I'm going to have a New York Times bestselling book, which I do not have at the moment, I get to feel as though I have that New York Times bestselling book. I get to surround myself and bring in images and pretend that I have all these things lined up as if I had a New York Times bestselling book. I get to feel it in my body, because what happens is there's a certain level of intensity that we feel around what we want. But when we are eager, like we're desperate, like I gotta have it yesterday, there's this force field that you're pushing out just beyond your fingertips, and it pushes what you want just beyond your reach. So instead, when you choose to feel it first, you develop a certain familiarity. You've hung out on the landing for a while. It's not strange. It's not weird. It's not exotic anymore. It's like a familiar friend. And when that goal that you have is a very familiar friend, and you're feeling all of the energy, all the emotions that you expect to feel once you actually achieve that thing, when it's normal for you, you become this magnet for everything that you choose to experience in your life.
Yes, 100%. And as from the lens of a somatic therapist practitioner, I just want to validate what you're saying in terms of the science of the nervous system, because when we titrate in very small amounts into embodying these felt senses, which is what you're talking about in somatic language, we call it a felt sense, where we are connecting with the sensation in our body along with that internal feeling of expansion. Like if it was for you, that feeling of what it feels like to be a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah.
And feeling the embodiment of that. And when we do that over time, we're training our nervous system to be expanded over time, which allows us to be prepared for when it does happen. And one of the things that continues to blow me away through trauma training was learning that one of the contestants on The Voice, her name was Susan Boyle. She was an Irish woman. So many of us remember her, right? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Her voice just blew up the stage. And, she had, everyone was, cheering for her. It was like she was such a sensation. And she was in the hospital for days after she blew up on stage because her nervous system could not integrate all of this celebration. She had, memories in her body from being deeply bullied as a child. And so there was this incongruence happening in her nervous system. So it's just to point to how important it is to, as you're saying, give time, attention, and awareness to feel from the inside out and allow our bodies to integrate into that readiness, and then we are ready when it happens.
And I love what you're saying here, Rhiah, because with that awareness, now you know why it's taking so long for you to achieve that thing that you've really wanted to achieve in your life. Your nervous system isn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And you keep telling yourself that you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And you don't have to keep telling yourself you're not ready yet. You can start to feel it first. So along those lines, you've worked with so many people and you've got so many wonderful activities and exercises. What are one or two little baby steps that we might take that would get us going in the right direction? Help us with that nervous system expansion.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I love to approach from the perspective of pleasure. And, pleasure, again, is a loaded word. For some people, it only means like sex with another human being. For others, it's a bite of chocolate cake. So I want to just simplify the definition of pleasure, of feeling connected to your senses and feeling even just the tiniest bit of expansion inside, just a little bit of lightness inside while you're connected with sensation at the same time. And when we frame pleasure around that through that lens, we can do something as simple as, I like to do things that I feel are loving or acknowledging myself. So even like just moving my hair to the side or like tracing my hand along my face and feeling the pleasure of the gift of being a sensual being in this life. And the important thing is, because for a lot of people who can have, narratives running in the nervous system somehow where it's not safe to feel sensation because of something that might have happened in the past that's too much, too soon, too fast, and we couldn't do anything about it. So it's like really allowing for your whole mind and your whole focus to come to just, even if it's a pinprick of aliveness that you feel in your body, and it could be anywhere. We don't know where it's going to show up at a certain time and place, but of aliveness, of groundedness, of safety, of pleasure, of calm, and just allowing all of your mind to come to that one point of focus in your body and basking in it, even if it's just for a minute. That will reset your perspective into being instead of doing, being, including receptivity, being, including intuition, being, including knowing what we know, being, including relaxation and ease, knowing that we're enough, that there's not more to reach for, and just 1 minute. I hear people say so much, oh, I don't have time for myself, or I know I need to do this, I know I need to get around to it. It doesn't need to be a lot of time. 1 minute is masterfully magical. And so I think that's the biggest mindset shift to acknowledge, is the thought of, I don't have time, I have all these other priorities, I this, I that, I have to learn all these things to become more mindful. No, forget it. Like, just be. And
I love that. I love that. I want to tell people about your book for just a quick moment. It's called Life's Poetic Glossary, The Humanity of Everyday Words. It's absolutely beautiful. And I love that every poem is accompanied by an x-ray of a flower. And I want to share one of the messages. Rhiah says, exalted is. What I know about being exalted is it happens when all the best parts of yourself are nourished by precise conditions of time, place, and circumstances. The result, an effortless, full-bodied burst into bloom. And that's pretty much what you were just describing to us just now. Now, you offered an amazing free gift to our audience. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So if you go to my website, which is my author name, Krista Kujat, you can get free audios of my book. I'm only going to be doing this for a limited time during my launch phase. But these audios will give you an opening of 1 or 2 minutes to connect with yourself in just the way I described, where you can connect with your heart and your body very simply in a very short amount of time without adding anything astronomical to your to-do list, and just bask in those audios. All you need to do is listen and receive. So I offer that as a very, very simple and easy gateway entry point. And when you download my audios, you'll automatically be entered to win a free giveaway of my limited edition book, which is a hardcover. It's got gilded pages and gilded embossing on the front. I love this. I'm a big so
you're big into the senses, right? And so it's pleasing to the eye, it's pleasing to the fingers. It's I totally get it. Well, one of the things that we love to do here is we always turn the tables on our guests, because we know when we give is when we truly receive the most. So what can we do to support you?
Thank you, Elaine. So generous. I would love if your listeners have resonated with our conversation to get my book on Amazon. The ebook is very accessible, very inexpensive. And if it resonates with you in any way, please leave a review. Those reviews help with the broader reach incredibly. So I really appreciate if anything that we've shared here truly resonates. If you would get my book and write a review. That would
thank you for that reminder, because I've been meaning to, and I like to do video reviews as well as written reviews. So I commit to you. I'm definitely going to do that because this is for the keeper. This is a keeper book. This is something that you keep around, and periodically you're going to look through this and you're going to come across a definition, and it's just going to be exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. So honestly, pick up a copy, Life's Poetic Glossary. You are going to be blown away both by the images and the incredible words. Wow, Rhiah, I've got like 4 pages of notes from all of the genius things that you shared with us today. And I have to pick just one to do the activated bonus segment.
I love the challenge of that.
Yeah, it's a lovely challenge to have. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I had such a wonderful time. It was so much fun. I just can't say enough how much I appreciate and adore your infectious joy. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Pristine intentionality to our conversation as well. I deeply appreciate that. I appreciate you.
How can it get even better than this? Stick around. We're going to activate abundance in just a moment. You know, abundance isn't something you chase. It's something you activate. Well, in my book, 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance, I share the exact process that I learned from the divine during my near-death experience, my stroke, so that you can manifest with ease, joy, and confidence. This book is your step-by-step guide that shifts your mindset, helps you overcome fear, and co-create a life you love. And great news, it's available as an ebook, a paperback book, or an audiobook on Amazon. So just go to Amazon and look up 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance and start living abundantly today. Did you know that 78% of people believe abundance is just about money? And that it's always out of reach? Well, that is a poverty mindset. But here's the truth. Abundance is a choice. That's why I named my TEDx talk, Abundance is a Choice. And in that talk, I reveal the secret to shifting out of scarcity and into flow and an abundance mindset. Over 325,000 people have watched so far, and now it's your turn. Just search for Abundance is a Choice on YouTube and start living abundantly. Wow. I mean, wow. Just wow. When you meet somebody like Rhiah, she's the way she thinks about the world, the way she expresses herself, the way she engages, it's so refreshing. It's so nourishing. It's so soul expanding. So step 1 is always gratitude. Gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. Gratitude is the beginning of everything you want. Everything starts with gratitude. And obviously, I'm incredibly grateful for the time we got to spend with her. Wow, I'm going to have her back. I mean, she's that good. Step 2, acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you. And there were so many. I have 4 pages of notes. But she said something that was just like a neon sign for me. She said, beingness is abundance. Oh. Beingness is abundance. Step 3, appreciate the difference it can make in your life when you take on that thing that you just acknowledged. Well, when I choose to accept and know in every facet of my being that beingness is abundance, all of a sudden, every sip of water is abundance. Every breath I take is abundance. Everything I see is abundance. Everything becomes abundance. Why? Because beingness, the joy in being alive is the ultimate form of abundance. And when you're in this joyous, infectious, remember we started with laughing at the very beginning of our conversation? I told a really lame joke, which is a great joke. But anyway, you know, that laughter, that celebration, that joy of living, that really attracts all kinds of abundance to you because you're being the fullness of who you are. You're owning yourself. And that allows you to truly shine your light in a massive way that benefits you and everybody around you. So, wow, I'm just blown away. Beingness is abundance. Step 4 is where we activate abundance. We're going to take a concept and turn it into tangible physical reality. I found 3 different ways to do this. The first way is schedule time to get it done. Well, something like being is kind of an ongoing thing. So I include journaling in this category because often my mind is just busy with all of these thoughts racing. And when I start to write down what I'm thinking about, how I'm feeling, and I especially remember to take the thoughts and reconnect them to my body and my felt senses, all of a sudden, I get out of my head and back into my heart, back into the truth of who I really am. And I witness my own abundance. Yeah, that's pretty cool. The second way to activate abundance is to create a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe as a reminder that no matter what's happening, no matter what the situation, no matter what the circumstances, beingness is abundance. It is the most foundational form of abundance, and everything grows from my willingness to celebrate my beingness and honor my truth and who I really am. So when I'm with family and they love to criticize what I'm up to and, critique what's going on, I don't let it bother me. I understand that it's a matter of them loving me because they're trying to protect me and keep me in a little box that they understand, and they don't understand this full me, the entire expression of me. So it makes them a little nervous because as I express myself and I show up as my full self, everybody around me feels a little bit like, dang, she's doing it. I guess I need to do it too. Yeah, you become the ringleader. You're actually pulling people into your orbit and empowering them to live the fullness of who they are too. So remember those little physical triggers because it's a great reminder. Beingness is abundance. Now, the third way to activate abundance is to work with an abundance buddy. Most people call them accountability buddies, but hey, I'm all about abundance. So they're abundance buddies. This is somebody who really gets you and knows you and loves you. And you can say, hey, I'm going to always remember that beingness is abundance. It's the foundation of abundance. And the more I celebrate who I'm being, the more abundance manifests in my life. And they'll call you on your stuff. They'll be like, well, you're criticizing yourself again. There you are cutting yourself off at the knees again. Yeah, I'm not buying that. What about this whole beingness is abundance thing? Remember that? How about you reframe that so that you really are acknowledging your beingness as abundance? It's so helpful because we get caught in old patterns, right? It really helps to have an abundance buddy who knows you and loves you and lovingly calls you on it when you're not in alignment with who you claim you are choosing to be. All right, step 5, celebrate your progress. This is amazing. The joy of being alive. And there are times when you're not feeling it. You're not feeling grateful to be alive. You're feeling kind of crappy. I had a bad cold about 3 weeks ago. I still have a little cough that bugs me every once in a while. And that part's not a lot of fun. But I tell you what, I've never enjoyed breathing through my nose as much as I do after having had a cold when I couldn't breathe through my nose. All of a sudden, the normal little everyday things become a freaking miracle that I want to celebrate. I choose to celebrate that I don't have to blow my nose constantly now. That is something to be joyous about. Absolutely. Beingness is abundance. And I'm so happy that you chose to be with us today. Thank you for being the blessing that you are. I'll see you next time for the abundance journey. I think your journey is worth celebrating. Have you had a breakthrough, a powerful insight, maybe an emotional shift? Well, I want to hear about it. Please share your transformation. You just might be featured on the Abundance Journey Show. Tell me what insight has changed things for you. How have you shifted your mindset, your energy, or your perspective? Now, here's a little secret. Maybe you didn't realize this. You can also celebrate in advance. Let us know what you're in the middle of manifesting so we can add our energy to yours. Just go to www.theabundancejourney.com/thank-you to share your story. And I'm going to celebrate your transformation with you.
You've been listening to The Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.